my family and I, we all went out to Lincoln Road here in Miami Beach, and we were all sitting around, and we went out for pizza, and the bill comes, and I noticed that there's a QR code right there, and it says that I could pay with Apple Pay. And I was like, oh, this is neat. So I take out my phone and I open the camera app, and boop, I just touch the little thing. I double click the side button. It does the Face ID, how much tip, boop, boop, done. In 30 seconds, the bill was paid. And I continued the conversation. I didn't miss a beat in the conversation. And like 3 or 4 minutes later, I was like, all right, let's go. And Eve looked at me and she said, wait, you already paid the bill? And I was like, yeah. She's like, well, how'd you do that? I said, I did it on Apple Pay. You didn't see? She's like, no. So we start to walk away, and I was like, wow, that is literally the opposite of valuing a dollar. There was no conversation. There was no nothing. It was instant. It definitely was convenient, but it defeated the purpose of teaching anything about money. That's for sure. Because as I thought about it, what happens when the bill normally comes? The bill comes, I figure out the tip, I scratch out what I got wrong, I refigure the tip, and the girls ask me questions. I play Price is Right sometimes. I say, okay, who wants to guess what the bill was? Who gets the closest without going over? We play these games, we talk about it. They might ask a question about a credit card. There's all this conversation that potentially could happen. Literally none of that happened. So that's not necessarily a difference between cash and Apple Pay. Like, I wouldn't have paid for pizza with cash for all of us sitting there. But even a credit card at a restaurant, it slows down the process to where you think about things more. So, I've just been talking a lot about how this instantaneous process versus the slowest process of cash, it's convenient, but it's not necessarily a great thing for our kids.
Totally. Yep. I agree. We talk about the bill. I love that Price is Right idea. That's really fun. We talk about the bill because the kids are more interested now in what things cost, so they do want to know. And I love that because then they can start valuing also the restaurants we go to. This pizza place is twice as expensive as that pizza place, but we like it more. But it's a treat, and so you can kind of start weighing that out. We went to a burger place the other night, and the kids were asking, well, how much was this? Because it was kind of like In-N-Out, only it was like really a lot fancier. Everything was elevated, and it was a certain type of beef, and it was fresh fish. And so we do also have those conversations about why we're paying this much money for this meal. But yeah, I can totally see how even just pulling that, that act of pulling the credit card out of the purse, putting it into the billfold, sending it away, or even if they're swiping it right there's that pause and that like moment of recognition that you are paying for something.
Yeah, there was literally nothing. And I was like, wow, what has been lost in that opportunity to teach? Because we talk a lot about this. It's about practice. It's about conversation. You don't have to be Warren Buffett to play The Price is Right and have them understand the difference in In-N-Out Burger versus the stepped up burger joint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, I deal a lot with people in takeout, and that's a thing too, is like we get so numb to paying for takeout when it's on that delivery app. It's like you scroll, you choose, you click, and then you could ask people, how much do you spend on takeout every night? And they're like,
I don't know.
I don't know. But then you could say, well, how much do you spend at the grocery store? Well, they know how much they spend at the grocery store, and it seems like a lot, right? You pay $200 or $300. You have a grocery cart full of groceries, but you have to look at the amount, look at what you have. Did I charge everything right? You do the card. And so if you were weighing out how much you're spending in takeout versus how much you're spending on groceries, obviously takeout's so much more expensive, but you don't think about it. It's click, done, bye. Here comes the food.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had an interesting conversation with Eve, again, who's now 12, about the Starbucks app. So she goes to this party, and as part of the giveaway or a prize that she won at the party or something like that, I forget the exact circumstance, but she wound up coming home with 2 gift cards, one to Amazon and one to Starbucks. And I think they were both $20. And so she was automatically under the assumption, I don't know why, that I would just give her $20 for each of them. And I said, no, I'm sorry. I have no interest in those. And she said, well, why? You spend money at those places. I said, yes, that's true. I said, I'll tell you what. I said, we're going to go onto this website. It's a gift card exchange or a gift card marketplace website. It's called raise.com. I said, I will pay you the going rate for Amazon because there is something I need to buy on Amazon. And to me, it's not that big of a difference. But you know what? Your $20 gift card is not worth $20 to me. I will pay you what's called the fair market value, basic economic principle, fair market value. Well, let's find out what that fair market value is on raise.com. Turns out it was like, $19 and change. So it was very little difference, but still a good learning opportunity. So I gave her the money for that. I saved a couple of pennies. She learned a good lesson. I got my thing. But the Starbucks one, I was like, no, I don't go to Starbucks that often and I have no interest in your gift card. And she said, well, why? And I said, I was like, I just told you. I said, let me ask you a question. Do you want the cash or do you want the card? She said, I want the cash. I said, me too. So, so I said, I'll tell you what, I will let you download. You don't have the Starbucks app. You could download the Starbucks app. I will walk you through, how to add the gift card and it'll be on there and you can use it when you want. And she said, okay. I was like, great. When we get home, we'll do that. We got a little distracted and so it didn't happen. 2 days go by and out of the blue, she says, Daddy, I've been thinking about it. I don't want the Starbucks app anymore. So no, how come? She said, well, what I noticed now that I have the debit card, here now for a couple of weeks is when I don't have the cash, the spending happens faster. I don't really notice it. It's not, I just don't feel it as much. And I feel like if I had the app, I would spend it a lot more quickly. I think it's better for me just to have the gift card and just get used to that and then not have the app on my phone. And I was like, yes, this is what I've been emailing everybody about. You want the pain. You want them to experience the pain when they're in the store and giving the cash and waiting for the change and counting it. You want them to value that dollar, value the pennies and the quarters and the nickels and all of that stuff and stuff it into their pocket. And she totally got it, not even on an elementary level, on an adult level by saying, don't give me the app. I will spend too quickly.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. You mentioned something also, Alec, that I have to say too about the quarters and the pennies and all of that. I think that that is such a benefit of starting kids early, like when you did, or when you look at my nephew William, and he's 7, and his amount of allowance is so small that they really do get really nitty gritty with the pennies, all
Yeah.
the coins. And when you wait a little bit longer, like I did to start my kids more around that middle school age, they're looking at the dollars. They're not as focused on the coins, and quite often they'll come home and they'll take their coins out and just put them on the counter and take the bills. Like they don't value the coins because they're little. So we have a jar in our kitchen where we keep all the coins. So every time they drop their coins, I sweep them up, I throw them in the family money jar, and then we all go together to Ralph's and we dump them in the machine and we see, how much money it is and we use it towards dinner or something fun. It usually
Oh,
comes out to
that's
like
amazing.
70, 80 or $90. But I'm like, guys, look, the
Yeah.
coins do add up. Of course, they always want me to have coins when we're like around a vending machine or something, like
Yeah.
gumball machine or whatever. But other than that, they don't really value them. So I I think
That's a
that
great way to teach them the value of that, to gather it
yeah,
all into a family dinner. That's amazing.
yeah, we do it like every 2 months or something. We can generate about $75. I mean, I throw dollar bills in there too, and then when we need a dollar bill for here or there, it's for them to see that like all the little things that come and go or that you forget in your pocket and goes through the laundry goes in the jar. So they're learning the value of coins in a different way, and I hope that they keep that practice as they go off into the world where they don't just drop their pennies mindlessly, that they keep them and use them. But I love kind of looking at this like debit card idea and this progression of kids of wherever their evolution is taking them. And so no matter where you start, there's certain things that you're teaching, but I never want those parts to be completely lost just because we didn't start as early as you did.
Yeah, totally.